The land debate in South Africa has been intensifying for the past 2 years, and it is getting more and more intense. Emotions of South Africans are, all over the place, and particularly the ones who have, land. They feel that they are targeted one way or the other because of the misunderstanding that is currently in people's heads. I think that we want to divide the country as its citizens, and to think like that, it's absolutely absurd, because what we find or what we see in South Africa is that the minority owns the majority of the land of the country and its resources. Subsequently, its economic status and having the benefits that come with having economic and financial freedom. And this has been happening for the past 24, going to the 25th year next year of democracy. South Africans, ordinary South Africans who do not have the land, who do not have any means of taking care of their families, besides having a job that is owned by a minor, having a job in a farm that, or in a factory or anywhere that is owned by one of the minorities. So this has shown that it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. Hence, the debate has been intensifying each and every day. More and more people are speaking on it, and I advise that people continue speaking, especially those who feel adamant that the past injustices, the 1913 Native Lands Act, which saw what we see see even today, persisting, the segregation in terms of resources. And even though South Africans, ordinary black South Africans, the majority of the country, have been freed, in inverted commas, they have seen that it's not really freedom. We have really seen that it's not really freedom. It's like we going on, back and on and off of poverty. We see poverty increasing, especially even with unemployment going up to 27%. So the majority is feeling that they are being treated unfairly in terms of ownership patterns, because the minority owns 79% of the farmlands, agricultural farmlands. This is something you can check, and it's quite disturbing to think that when ordinary South Africans are asking to be also included in in the party, because now we see people with money having ownership of different sorts of resources of the country, while the ones who are working for those people get to come only to clean those places, get only to come and just, take care of what they do not own. And of course, being people, it's very much disturbing, and it also explains why a lot of people resort to crime. And I don't know why people get shocked when they get robbed in their state-of-the-art houses, while other people are staying in shacks. So, also the ones who are owning the land do not think in terms of, their safety themselves. The only thing they think of in terms of safety is what they have been doing, training for war, civil war. They say it in broad daylight that they are training for a war because they see that what they are doing is not sustainable, having the whole actually, a very big chunk of the economy alone. So one way or the other, they do have to protect themselves, because the majority is getting restless, and what should they do? I mean, those people who go, I'm not saying it's right, and commit crime in farms, it's because they do not have a choice. And it's not a thing of black versus white, or whites, or blacks doing reverse racism, as some USA media propaganda is trying to show. It's not like that. The stats show that the majority of South Africans are living under poverty because they do not own anything. They expecting to be given jobs. And when people talking about jobs, especially the ones that own these resources, especially land, they refer to giving people jobs of cleaning. That's not a job. You can't grow a family on that. It's absurd. Why is it even a debate? Because now it's a thing of saying, if the minority having these resources, if they really love South Africa, I don't see any problem with them teaching South Africans, especially the ones who are from previously disadvantaged backgrounds, the ones who do not own anything. They say, okay, family X, who's disadvantaged, we are family Z, and from family Z we have had these privileges because of our skin in South Africa, and because of the past injustices that we have seen unfold. We are going to assist you in ensuring that you penetrate the market, so that we have food security in South Africa. We are going to ensure that we give you the experience and the expertise that we have. We share them with you. We are not seeing that from white minority South Africans who own disproportionately high hectares in South Africa of land. And this is a problem in that the few who own the majority have to, one way or the other, protect themselves from the ones who are getting disgruntled each and every day because of not having the access to those resources which they should be rightfully having as citizens of South Africa. It also goes back to the fact that if and when, as a minority landowner, you feel that these people who are saying, can we please share with you what is rightfully ours, they really deserve that. Are they human enough to share with me? I think these are the things that we're faced with as South Africans. We're faced with people who do not acknowledge their privilege based on the past injustices of this country, and they continue thinking that they deserve these things because they were born into them, they belong into their families. It has been generational that these farms, these hectares of land have been in their families' names, disregarding that these hectares of land may have been taken unlawfully, immorally, so that they can, have they can have tenure in these lands, or in these hectares of land. It's very much disappointing to hear a lot of South, especially the ones who are owning the minority. It's very disappointing hearing them, respond the way they are responding to this issue that is making tense or is making waves in South Africa, the land issue. Their response has been that of, pushing away anyone who tries to just say land, pushing them away and not wanting to listen to them, because they have a fear that they themselves will end up like the majority of South Africans. Hence, they had to, have this group called the Settlers to prepare themselves for war. While South Africans, the ones who do not have anything, are not preparing for war. It's very much disappointing, because that says a lot about, racism in South Africa. It says a lot about racism, because it says that these people are not willing to share with ordinary people. They are not willing to share with black people. They just want them to work for them in their houses, in their mansions, in their farms, in their companies, etc. They just want to use these black bodies as machines to get more money, to dry out this country further and further. It's a problem. It's a problem. It's a very big problem, because we even see civil organizations that are claiming to be in love with South Africa, or claiming to call South Africa their own, responding the way they are. When parliamentary processes of the Republic of South Africa are taking place, which is the discussions that are taken to the public for hearing what the public wants, and a high number of ordinary South Africans are saying they need to be assisted with the land, and it happens that the land is owned by a few, right? And this few is saying no, this is reverse racism. You can't be wanting economic freedom in South Africa as black people, because the country will run into poverty. The country will plummet. How? I would like to understand how, when you, as the minority who have experience, have held onto the land for so long. How can this happen when we are still here as South Africans? Or your South Africanism only is limited to having land as the white minority, and if you have a little bit smaller land than you had initially, then you are not a South African, meaning that the country will go into problems because we share land. It really doesn't make sense. And I'm of the view that civil societies, civil organizations like the AfriForum need to be charged for treason, because what they what they are doing is really causing a bad reputation view from other countries. It's also causing an hysteria that does not even exist. Why are they not lobbying inside the country, talking to South Africans about the issue, but want to go outside to other racist countries to garner support, because inside the country they are losing? It's very disturbing. It's disheartening to see South Africa at this juncture. It's very disheartening to see the responses that we see from both spectrums of the races. You see one thinking that they rightfully have to hold on to the land such that no one else should come in, otherwise they would be violating property rights. It's sad. It's really sad to think that we think like that in 2018, when people are saying let us share. And perhaps it also has to do with the language that us as people of color, as Africans here in South Africa, are talking about this land issue. Perhaps we are scaring them away by saying we are taking back the land, which I don't think is necessarily what we are saying. What we are saying, according to me, is that each and every South African, whether black, white, Indian, colored, they need to have a sense of belonging. They need to have to feel like South Africa is their own in terms of land ownership patterns, because it's really what's the word? It's sad, to say the least. I don't think I have any other word to describe the time that we are in as a country, because we see people who claim that they love the country going outside to protect their individual needs, because they have to hold on to their white supremacist ideas and life in the current South Africa, which has no place. We don't have a place for that. South Africa is amongst the highest in terms of inequality, and having the highest inequality levels goes back to the ownership patterns of resources in South Africa. So history does not lie. There's no reverse racism that's happening here. The land was taken immorally, but now we are trying to redress that democratically, which makes us different from other countries like Zimbabwe, because these discussions that we are having now as South Africans, they've not been having them in other parts of the country that took back their land. And we see with white supremacists using their power, their economic power, and their security power, which most of them don't even have a powerful military, saying that countries such as South Africa, one way or the other, don't have to own their own land. They need their own land there to be owned for them, on their behalf. I mean, these are the subliminal things I'm getting from AfriForum, hence they have to go and lobby people outside of the country and say, don't invest in South Africa. That's killing our reputation. I don't see how that is not treasonous, because they are painting us with a brush that is saying we are having white genocide in South Africa, which is an absolute lie. It's an absolute lie. What's true is that we have people who are taking, chances with this issue, which is being looked upon by the Parliament of South Africa, taking chances with it, wanting to benefit from it. But we are not going to be stopped by such individuals from addressing and redressing the issues of the past injustices that we are still seeing. The repercussions, we're still seeing them today, and we need to talk about these things. I have a quote as I pause on this issue. We still have a lot to talk about. I can talk the whole day, but I want to just say this quote from an international leader, a leader that I know you would agree with when I read this quote. And this leader is the late first president of our democratic country, Dr. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. And it says, and I quote, "I am without land because the white minority has taken a lion's share of my country and forced me to occupy poverty-stricken reserves, overpopulated and overstocked. We are ravaged by starvation and disease." End of quote. So this thing is not an issue that started yesterday. Here we hear Dr. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, a leader that we all know, internationally so, talking about this matter that we are still grappling with 24 years after democracy. And I wanted to share this quote on his centenary year, because as South Africans, we need to work together at redressing this. It does not make sense that the white minority owns disproportionately large amounts of land, while the majority of the country owns close to nothing, because what is 1% of the land? Really, what is 1%? And now people are talking of reverse racism. There's no such thing as a reverse racism that's happening here. There's no genocide that is happening here. But discussions are happening. Debates are happening. But what we need is the white minority to come forth, not with their guns, not with their civil war threats, but come with ideas as to how can we share the land while they do not lose out themselves, because that's one thing that they are afraid of. They are afraid of losing what they already have. And as South Africans who were able to forgive what happened, the atrocities that were done against black people, those people can think. That's what I want to say. Those people, they can think in that they did not choose to, kill white people, as now people are trying to paint South Africa as this country that hates white people. This is the kind we've been living with them for the past 24 years, working for them. And now we're saying that it does not work for us, working for you. Let's work together and make this country the best in the world. And I don't understand what's hard about that.